Alright, let's open up warehouse. This game has such good stuff. Maybe you can get them to play Chaos Head too. Yeah. And then get the bad endings. The awful fucking bad endings. Getting Taco Bell. Hell yeah. I made myself a Reuben for dinner. A Reuben with sriracha chicken breast as the meat. Which was definitely interesting. Wasn't bad interesting, just interesting. Some soup, but I ran out, so only had half a bowl and didn't want pasta or tuna. That sounds reasonable. Alright. Oh! Forgot like half of our setup for doing visual novels. I don't know if DS4 even actually loaded there. Hopefully it did. Yes, it did. Plus I had $5 credit for when I bitched at them when my food never came a few nights ago. Hell yeah. Double bonus. Double bonus. Alright. Tilt back. Readjust microphone positioning. No, you sit with this. Bad microphone stand. Bad. Double boners, I mean bonus. Exactly, you understand. Okay, we're starting with Morag because Kelpie. Or should we do the best, save the best for last? I don't know. Let's start with the Kelpie.
Great. I might finally be able to make some headway then.
Give me my drink. She looks over at me with something approaching gratefulness, but it escapes her quickly. So, what exactly is it that you do then? Morag just looks at me flatly.
Human resources.
S at the barely has time to open her mouth to start making the obvious joke before Morag is shooting them an icy glare. They dither for a moment before deciding better of it and snapping their mouths shut, though the snakes writhe a little, darting their tongues out in her direction.
Anyway, Kevin, meet me tomorrow at 9 and we can get started. Give me your number and I'll text you the address.
9 a.m.? Oh, that's so early. But she's all business. There's no way I can argue with her, and it's too late to back out now, so I pull out my phone. Soon after, once all the arrangements are figured out, the 3 committee members tip dirt over the fire, then they're meeting over. Sounds good, Casey. I wave and then head home, finally finishing my usual cut corner path across the yard of the warehouse. Sorry, warehouse. At least I have a job now, I guess. I wake up the next morning in a cold sweat, Probably because it's 7 a.m. and I have no business being alive at this hour, let alone awake. My alarm doesn't go off, and I'm late. Of course. I throw on whatever same hoodie as yesterday, it'll do. Hold on, I can redo that one. I throw on whatever, same hoodie as yesterday, it'll do. But there's no time for coffee. I do take a moment to look at the kettle longingly as I run out the front door and pelt down the road to the bus stop. Luckily, both me and the bus are always running late. After the bus trip, which is almost long enough to catch my breath, I jog up the steps and manage to ring the doorbell of what I assume is Morag's fancy apartment before I nearly run myself into the door. Geez, showing up late, a mess on my first day of work at the front gate of someone who is now technically my boss. Nailing it already, Kevin. Absolutely nailing this one.
What?
The sudden voice behind the door nearly makes me fall right back off the steps into the road. After a rattle of chain, the door swings open and Morag pokes her head out, her expression sort of smug and self-satisfied. God, why do I find her so attractive? I'm not even into horses.
Kevin, I'm going to assume from your face that you were talking to yourself just then, not me, right?
I can't muster a reply, so I just attempt to smile instead, trying not to pant too hard. She doesn't even look weirded out. Just amused. I guess the bar for weird is pretty low when you're a monster person.
Anyway, come in.
Man, it is fancy in here. With the big panes of glass and classy leather couches, it's almost intimidatingly tasteful. There's minimalist art on the wall and tasteful indoor plants that don't even look plastic, but are far too green for comfort. How old did she say she was again? Nobody I know my age can afford to rent any kind of apartment, let alone something like this. I hover awkwardly in the entryway, trying to figure out where I'm supposed to sit, and quickly. She said to bring my laptop, so I did, but it weighs about as much as a brick, and the strap is currently halfway through cutting off my arm in half. Morag breezes past me into the living room, though, as cool as ever. That's not the button I wanted.
Make yourself at home, I guess. Just don't put your feet on the coffee table.
Not that I would, it's glass, delicately framed with thin metal legs, and I can just imagine my foot going right through it. I would never. I put on a kind of mockingly formal air, trying to see if I can get past her icy exterior. She almost smiles, and lets out a little huff of breath through her nose. Yes, a win for Kevin.
Cormac absolutely would, though unfortunately, which is why he's relegated exclusively to the kitchen now.
I follow her over to the living room and flop down across from her on the other couch. It's clean and tidy in here, which is hardly surprising. But the coffee table is kind of a disaster. There's stacks of papers scattered all over it and a laptop perching on one of the piles, wobbling a little dangerously. Morag follows my gaze and scowls.
Now you see why I needed your help.
What is all this?
Sign-up forms, mostly, and some waivers from all the crew who are working the house this year.
She sighs heavily and plops down on the couch, cracking open a slim laptop of her own.
Usually I have us set up with online forms and everything, and last year we already had everything in the database, so I only needed to onboard new people. But Cormac lost the password, and instead of calling me, he managed to try wrong passwords so many times that we got locked out.
From the little time I've known him, that checks out, honestly. Yeah, pretty much.
Now we have to do everything manually and enter it into the database ourselves. Just getting the forms to everyone and making everyone actually send one back has been a nightmare, let alone actually cataloging everything.
She flashes me what I'm sure was meant to be a winning smile, but it comes across kind of frazzled, or maybe even predatory. It was only brief, but I'm pretty sure I spotted fangs in there. Hey, mama. That's where I come in, I guess.
Exactly. With two of us going through and processing everything, at least then we should be able to get through it faster.
I'm hardly a master receptionist or whatever, but I'll give it a go. At least this means I don't have to ask her for the Wi-Fi password. I crack open my beast of a laptop and find an adapter to plug it into. Old battery's got a very short lifespan these days, and take the first sheet off the pile closest to me once Morag directs me to the online spreadsheet we're using to catalog them all. So, is it mostly monster folk who work in the haunted house, or demi-humans, was it?
Demi-humans, yes. Most of us prefer that. Though there's some debate, isn't there always with that kind of thing?
Sure. Not that I know exactly what she means by that kind of thing.
Anyways, yes. It's almost entirely supernatural folk. There's very few humans who are in on the secret, you know, at least in this area.
I'm honored, I guess. Even if you're putting me to work immediately and kind of threatening me with death a little. She laughs, a liquid rumble deep in her throat.
Empty threats all, I'm afraid.
Sure.
I'm sure you gathered, but the whole secrecy thing was a pretty poor excuse to bring you on board anyway. Cormac loves everyone he meets, of course, and Aseth is a scarily good judge of character. So as soon as they relaxed around you, I felt pretty sure you weren't about to rat us out to your local scientist or zoo, or what have you.
Sure, I guess. I'd like to think I wouldn't have called the cops or anything, but you never know. It was a close race between my curiosity and the other part of my brain that saw monster people and started immediately screaming obscenities. Hasn't stopped screaming since, really, but it's getting quieter. Helps that Morag and the rest are oddly kind of normal despite appearances. It also helps that Morag is smoking hot.
To tell you the truth, I jumped on the idea because I think we're in a little over our heads. We've still only done a few houses so far, but the warehouse just seems to get more and more popular every year. So we just keep upping and upping the spectacle and the amount of people involved. But the central committee is still just the three of us. And the other two, well, they don't necessarily pull their weight when it comes to administration.
I can imagine. I can hardly picture Cormac sitting still for more than 5 minutes, let alone making a spreadsheet. I'm all for more pleasantries, but Morag doesn't really strike me as the type for small talk, and before long she's ignoring me entirely, writing entire sentences without looking down at her keyboard. Damn, she can even type better than me. Wonder what else those fingers do. I mean, I couldn't help myself. Following suit, I let myself recline a little bit on the sofa. I'm not used to leather, and it takes a bit to get comfy without squeaking every time I move, and pick up the stack of forms balancing my laptop on my lap. It's not too difficult, really. I just have to type up each line of the information on the entry and waiver forms into its corresponding box in Morag's spreadsheet, and then check a couple boxes to make sure it's been filled out properly. Before long, though, my eyes are beginning to water and I have to look away from my screen for a bit. Not that I'm not used to staring at my laptop screen all day. I'm probably too good at it, actually. But the numbers are starting to swim around in front of my eyes and my concentration goes out the window. I risk a glance over at Morag. She's barely even moved, still trucking away, and I'm alarmed to see that she's made a sizable dent in her pile of forms, while my finished pile is just a few papers deep. Can I chalk her typing speed up to her supernatural powers? Probably not. Anyway, I need a break, so I decide to take a chance at asking her something. I certainly have a lot of questions about all this. How come you bother with all this paperwork when you're already hiding from the government? She narrows her eyes at me, which is mildly terrifying.
Clearly, Kevin, you have no idea. We might be undercover or what have you, but that's no reason to be careless about these things. In fact, that makes it more dangerous for us to leave out things like waivers and proper records for our workers. If a customer gets injured at the house or something even worse, then the law will get involved, and then what? We can't hide ourselves at all then, our secret is fully blown. By staying within the law as best we can, we're just protecting ourselves and everyone who works for us every year.
I get the feeling she's had to make this argument to the other two more than once. Sounds fair, I didn't think about it. Guess it just didn't make sense without context. She doesn't react, but I can tell she's holding back an eye roll.
Anyway, get back to work, please. I promise I'm having about as much fun as you are.
Somehow I doubt that. She looks like someone who would derive a perverse kind of pleasure from filling out a spreadsheet. Hours pass. They're the slowest hours I've ever experienced. I barely believe time is passing at all, to be honest. But every time I look, the hand on the living room clock is still moving. Morag and I plow our way through the mountain of paperwork in front of us. She's still much faster than I am, but I'm catching up slowly, though I can still feel my brain starting to leak out of my ears from the effort of wrestling with all this. Finally, I let my head tip backward onto the back of the couch, letting out a groan I don't even try to stop. We're not done, not even close, but if I have to read another word, I think I'll scream out loud. I wish I were dead.
Yeah, you should have just let us kill you yesterday.
I'm only 99% sure she's joking, but I can't be bothered being scared anymore. Abruptly, Morag shoves her laptop onto the table and stands up, stalking into the kitchen. I blink, rubbing my eyes. There's still a big rectangular afterimage behind them, and look up and over my shoulder to the kitchen.
Cuppa hot?
What? She stares at me from behind the kitchen counter. She's almost obscured by the bench since the kitchen is higher than the sunken lounge, but I can make out just fine the way she's looking at me like I'm an idiot. I'm already pretty familiar with that expression.
Cuppa hot. Hot drink. Do you want one?
Oh, okay then, sure. I have no idea how I was supposed to understand what she meant by that, but okay, whatever. To be honest, I'd forgotten that I missed my coffee this morning until now, so that probably explains a lot. At least now I have an excuse for why I'm so slow. I must black out for a moment. There are still awful numbers and spreadsheet columns parading behind my eyes, because the next thing I know, Morag has plonked a steaming china cup of deep red liquid in front of me. Uh-oh. I don't recognize what it looks like, or the smell, but it's tea, I think. And not to be a baby about this, but I don't drink tea. It tastes like cardboard to me. Barely tolerable with lots of milk and about 5 sugars. But at this point, it's way too late to protest, so I just look down into the cup with what I'm sure is poorly disguised dread. Morgan hangles deeply with her face over her own mug and then sits back down, but I don't escape her scrutiny for long.
What, are you worried I'll poison you?
She rolls her eyes. No, it's just...
Honestly, Kevin, you do know I was kidding about the murder thing, right?
Still at about 99% certainty on that, actually. Besides, not 24 hours ago I learned monster people are real, Morag. How exactly am I meant to take anything at face value after that? There's a moment of choked silence. She looks like she's trying not to say touche. Anyway, I don't like tea.
Oh.
There's another yawning, painful silence.
I probably should have asked what you wanted before I made it for you, shouldn't I?
Normally people do that, yeah. She deflates a little, casting her own mug aside.
I'm sorry, Kevin. It's been a long time since I've had to be a gracious host to anyone. Well, anyone besides Cormac and Esseth, and I already know what they like to drink.
Despite myself, I find myself smiling a little. She's so outwardly curt. I almost read that as cute. Freudian slip there. But it's already becoming pretty obvious to me that the razor edges don't go too deep. I mean, if they did, she'd probably have gotten rid of Cormac by now, since he obviously annoys her so much. It's fine, Morag. No big deal. Hey, Chase. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing tonight? You're only a couple minutes late. You missed the part where we voted for which character we were going to romance first. Nobody else voted. I voted. So we're romancing Morag. I don't know why she's so cute to me. Because as I already made clear to everybody, I'm not even into horses. Totally not my thing. Like, centaurs? No. Trying to think of any other monster girl that's part horse, but that's the only thing I can come up with off the top of my head. But for some reason Morag is just like really cute to me. I don't know what it is. What kind of tea is this anyway? She brightens a little.
A custom herbal blend, actually. Mostly hibiscus, that's why it's red.
The smell is still weirding me out. do you have any coffee? I can make it myself since you already sat down. She makes a face.
Is instant okay?
I shrug. I wasn't brought up with standards about these things. Besides, it'll taste good if you put enough sugar in it. True. Not really. I don't like coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm sorry to all those who are. I did see that. I stopped in a couple of times, but I couldn't stick around. I couldn't manage to stay focused on anything today. I woke up at 7 o'clock to go to do my orientation thing for work, and that wasn't a fun time. I acquaint myself with her fancy kitchen. There's not even one scuff on these pristine black and white enamel doors, which boggles my mind. And we get back to work, though more slowly and with more breaks to chat idly about things. Yeah, every time I closed my eyes, I could feel the the cold, icy grip of death trying to yank me into oblivion. I was just like, oh, if I close my eyes for too long, I'm gonna die, so I should probably just stick to blinking, because as it is, that's hard enough. It's hard enough to open my eyes after a blink, let alone anything longer. I have a lot of questions about all these monster folks whose forms I'm processing, for one thing, and Morag is definitely curious about my life and family, though she's trying to be polite about it. She admits it's been a long time since she spoke to a full-blooded human. The last time she probably drowned them. And anyway, the work is a little easier now that I'm caffeinated. I find another excuse to dawdle a while later, as afternoon begins to bleed in through the windows. Hey Morag, what does this writing say in the margins? There's a scribbled note in a handwriting I can't quite decipher. I have no reason to believe it's important information or anything, but I wouldn't be here in the first place if I wasn't a chronic sticky beak. I pass the form across to Morag and she blanches immediately.
Oh, that's just from Ida. She's a Cyclops. Usually helps us manage all the crowds at the house every year.
GG, foe. GG. Her mouth tightens into a thin line. That scrawled message is just her making an unsavory reference to something from a few years ago. Oh.
That scrawled message is just her making an unsavory reference to something from a few years ago. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I know, the art is super good. Isn't Morag cute as hell? She's a Kelpie. In saying so, she buries the paper very deliberately between the couch cushions. But unsavory references are my favorite. Morag doesn't budge. Besides, don't we need to log the information on that form? Morag shoots me a glare, but I know better than to take it serious by now. I feel like both their styles are my moods. I knew the threat of an incomplete spreadsheet would be her kryptonite, and after a moment, Morag does falter, reluctantly taking the form out and uncrumpling it.
She was just making a joke, that's all.
About?
About the costume she made me wear one year from Halloween, before Warehouse even started. I made her promise not to tell anyone, but she swears she has photos, so I'm sure it's only a matter of time.
Best ending had better have me getting those photos. You're gonna have to tell me what it was. I promise I'm imagining things that are way more embarrassing than what it actually was.
I'm not sure that's possible.
Go on, Morag. It can't be that bad.
It was a horse costume.
I somehow managed to keep an iron grip on myself and I don't laugh, though I can't stifle the grin. Like one of those brown ones with the mask and two people inside. She groans and buries her head in her hands, which I take as a yes.
Ida was determined to be a cowgirl and me her steed. What's worse is she thought it'd be a great joke for me to be in horse form while I was in there. It was a disaster. I'm sure you noticed that I tend to be covered in seawater for a while whenever I transform, so before long the costume was soaked with all these weird wet spots, and everyone could tell something was up because the suit was way too small for me. Utter disaster. She thinks it's very funny to blackmail me about it sometimes, but
Mid-sentence, she suddenly stops, putting a hand to her temple. You okay, Morag? Is she overcome with embarrassment about this whole costume thing, or?
It's all right, Kevin. This just happens sometimes, you know, after the incident at the farm.
No, I don't know, actually. Incident? What are you talking about?
Oh, I forgot you wouldn't know about that. Anyway, don't worry about it.
Well, I am gonna worry about it, so there. You've got my curiosity now, Morag. What kind of incident? She narrows her eyes.
It's none of your concern. What is your concern is that stack of papers in front of you.
I slither down in my seat with a groan. No. But the form under Ida's is one that I can't even read. Morag rolls her eyes.
Fine, hand it over.
I wasn't kidding. It's covered in some kind of scrawling runic alphabet, and none of it is even written in the lines of the form, let alone any actually legible. I let things lie for a couple of minutes, letting us work for a little while longer in companionable silence, but curiosity is burning in me. I get the courage to ask again, carefully avoiding looking over at her. You know I'm not going to let this go, Morag. Tell me about your mysterious incident. Go on. I keep my eyes riveted down on the form, carefully tapping away at the spreadsheet. She ignores me just the same, though her typing picks up speed, and her fingers are coming down with much more force on the keyboard. You guys know what that's like. You guys have listened to me play League in the background while we've been in Discord at night. When I start getting really toxic and the keyboard keys start pounding. What, is it something super embarrassing, or is that you can't tell me because you're my boss? Boss in theory, anyway. She sighs heavily, finally indulging me and throwing down her stack of forms on the coffee table. Keyboard warrior tundra indeed.
Fine.
Hell. Whoa. I can neither confirm nor deny whether I reinstalled it recently, Retro.
So I'm a Kelpie, as you know.
Yeah, Irish mythical creature, right?
You could probably tell from the accent.
Yeah, that, and the water weeds in your hair.
Okay.
And that time I saw you and you were a horse.
Okay, Kevin. Honestly. Anyway, Kelpies usually have a bridle in their horse form.
I'm sorry, what? Comes with the package deal? She lets out a kind of humorless snort.
You could say that, sure. Anyway, it appears on a Kelpie's face whenever we transform, and we're not supposed to take it off. But I lost mine, and I'm kind of beholden to the person who has it. Technically.
This sounds like it's right out of some mythic tale. Am I supposed to be learning some lesson about humility or not committing adultery or something? How did you lose something like that? You can't spend that much time in horse form, surely. I mean, apart from anything else, you have to climb stairs to get to this apartment.
I was having a bad day, Kevin, okay? I decided to go for a run to help calm myself back down, so I drive out to the end of the northern highway and parked somewhere on the side of the road. I know the area she means, not quite far enough out of the city for farmland, and there's some big housing developments creeping further out into the area, but the blocks are big enough for a few hobby farms and horse properties. I know I should have been more careful, obviously, but I was too worked up, so I just transformed into a horse form behind my car and took off at a gallop down a gravel side street toward the trees. She takes a sip of her tea, though it must be cold by now. Before I can get to the river and the cover of the bush, some guy races out from a gate with a halter and manages to corner me in the laneway. I'm panicking, trying to decide whether to kick him or try and jump the fence without a run-up, but he gets the lead rope around my neck and then grabs a hold of my bridle before I can even fight him off. Me, being led into a stable block like a Shetland pony. I've never been so embarrassed in my life. Morag slams down the teacup with enough force I'm surprised it doesn't shatter. Was he nice to you at least? I mean, sort of. One of those talkative ones. I didn't dare talk back at him, obviously, since he still thought I was just some normal horse. But the whole time he was telling me how pretty I was and how I was wet, so I must have been sweating a lot. Poor thing, so frightened, yada yada.
I mean...
The whole time I was just waiting until he looked away so I could make a run for it, but while I was in the stable, he took my bridle off, so then I was in a real pickle. I spent hours trying to figure out if I should have just transformed into my human form and try to sneak out somehow, but he wouldn't go away, always dithering about doing something in the yard. It was dark before I could escape, and even then I had to really run for it before I realized what was happening.
So he still has your bridle, right? She flops backwards into the couch, defeated.
Right, and while he has it, I can't get rid of this weird telepathy thing.
How does it work exactly? You can just feel what he's feeling sometimes?
Depends. The stronger the emotion, the harder I feel it, and the more compelled I am to go and help him with whatever he's doing. Theoretically, if he wanted it badly enough, I'd have no choice other than to drop what I was doing and go serve him.
I need this bridle. Her face says that she's not entirely stoked about this, which I can hardly blame her for. Couldn't you just, I don't know, go up to him in human form and ask for it back? She looks at me like I grew a second head, which is not that unlikely given the kinds of people she mixes with.
That's absurd.
I don't think so. You can pretend to be the owner of the horse he found, right? Just tell him you fell off and then the horse bolted or something.
But how am I meant to explain how I know he has it? And anyway, I'm a terrible liar. And he'd be bound to notice my pointy teeth or my hair or something.
Trying to get her to translate chaos. I mean, she works hard. Maybe that could work.
Though, you could do it. You strike me as a good liar.
I'm gonna take that as a compliment, even though it's not true. I'm no good either. It doesn't solve our problem of how we know he has the bridle, though. There's a silence while we both rack our brains, but nothing comes out worth trying. Morag sighs. So that plan's out, then.
Don't worry about it, Kevin. I'll be fine. It's just inconvenient, that's all.
No, you don't understand. I need that bridle. Sounds more than inconvenient to me, but it's her business after all, so I finally stop prying. Once she clams back up again and returns to the paperwork. Through some minor miracle, we've actually made our way through a solid pile of the forms, and the sun is only just beginning to set by the time Morag sends me home.
I'll get your tax form and everything sent through tonight as well, so that should all come through in the next few days.
Thanks. She's so organized, like, scarily so. I think that's why it bothers me that she hasn't come up with some sort of plan about how she's going to get her bridle back from that guy if it's so important to her. Maybe she's too scared to? Or too busy thinking about all the warehouse work she has left to do. I don't know why, but it strikes me as odd. Not that I'm actively plotting or anything, but I think about it the whole bus ride home. Aww. I need it. I managed to haul myself out of bed as slightly more bright and early than yesterday, which is a huge win as far as I'm concerned. I actually have time for coffee and to at least say hi to my family before I sprint out the door. I pack food this time too, just leftovers from the fridge, but there aren't any cafes or anything near Morag's house like I was expecting. And besides, I shouldn't really be spending money since I haven't been paid for this job yet, right? She'd managed to cobble something together for us to eat while we worked yesterday, but it strikes me Morag didn't really plan for that either. Today, Morag has me answering the phone. She actually has a landline installed in her apartment, another thing that sets her apart from any humans her age, because I don't even think I know anyone who owns one of these anymore. So she stations me next to it with a little stack of leftover forms from yesterday to file between calls. Then she takes herself over to the lounge with her cell phone and starts calling people, caterers at first, it sounds like, to feed the hordes of people who are coming to work at the haunted house. Then she moves on to badgering people who haven't sent in a waiver form yet. I guess now I'm a personal assistant, too. This whole thing is going to be a great experience for my resume if I can somehow edit out all the parts about monsters. I'm more caffeinated than yesterday, and initially there's nerves about answering the phone to keep me awake, too. But I settle back into that sleepy kind of feeling before too long. It's not that hard to keep on top of the phone calls, really. Mostly I just write down whatever the person was calling about on a return number so Morag can call them back when she's done. One time it was someone calling to correct a wrong detail on their form, a wrong address, and they'd listed their gender as Dragonborn, which was hilarious and kind of a big mood, but didn't fit into the drop-down menu in the spreadsheet. Since I had to log into the spreadsheet account, I could actually fix it myself without even adding more to Morag's workload. This made me feel pretty accomplished. After that, though, I started feeling sleepy again. Jeez. Maybe all this time I've spent getting really good at being unemployed has made me lose my edge. The phone is quiet for more than a few minutes, so I make some headway into the shrinking pile of forms. But before long, I get distracted again. Morag is halfway through a heated argument on the phone. Well, her version of heated, which is very quiet and much scarier than if she were actually yelling. Anyway, she's preoccupied, so I feel pretty safe sliding my cell phone out of my pocket and unlocking it behind the desk out of her field of vision. Normally, I'd never dare be on my phone during work hours. Even for me, that's pretty lazy, but this will all be for her own benefit, right? Are those Sergals? Don't ask me how I know what a Sergal is, okay? I'm talking about the stickers on her phone, for the record. I open Gorgon search and start typing. What is a Kelpie? Kelpie mythology, not dog. Ebre Kelpie bridal. Steal something without technically committing theft. Did you mean how to steal something without technically committing theft?
What are you doing?
She says it in that flat, icy tone that I think she usually reserves for telling off Cormac, and it sends a little shiver up my spine. How long has she been standing there? Uh-oh. Nothing. Just looking something up for a caller on the phone. No big deal. I almost planned to pick up the landline headset and mime a whole fake conversation, but I can't do it. She's pinning me in place with that stare of hers. She can pin me in place with something.
Kevin, what were you actually doing?
I feel myself deflate a little. I wasn't kidding yesterday. I really am a terrible liar. Listen, I don't want to tell you how to live your life or whatever, but I really do think you should do something about this whole bridal thing. She rolls her eyes immediately and turns her body away from me, folding her arms. Don't you feel weird about it, though?
Obviously, yes.
Well, then?
I wish I'd never told you. I'll take care of it, Kevin, just not right now.
She's not much of a better liar than I am. Well, what's your plan, then, to take care of it later? She shrugs.
Deal with it until it went away?
That's not a plan, Morag. I was mostly looking this up just because I was curious, but now a little bit of concern really is starting to snake its way in. What happened to the feverishly organized and controlled Morag I thought I knew? Granted, I met her like 2 days ago, but still. You gotta look after yourself better than that, Morag. I'm an expert at pretending my problems don't exist, but I sure as hell don't let my friends do it. Her eyes widen a little at that last part, but she caves a little, shrinking away from me. Aww. And anyway, what if something happened with the bridal during the haunted house? Maybe you have to go running off to help him then, or something, and then your cover is blown. She flops down on the seat next to me, all her usual grace gone.
Fine. You're right, I suppose. What's your bright idea, then?
How about we... all these ideas are awful. I don't even know. Yeah, I'm thinking haunted. How about we make him think that the bridal's haunted until he doesn't want it anymore? She bursts out with a disbelieving laugh.
Kevin, now you have to admit that sounds outlandish.
I shrug. Sounds silly, but that doesn't mean it won't work. Probably means it's more likely to work, to be honest with you. Besides, you help run a haunted house, so you should be able to use that experience to creep out one guy, no problem.
I suppose so, but it seems like that'd take a lot of time, right? And how would we convince him that it's the bridal that's haunted and not him or his house?
That's a good point, I guess. Maybe this idea is a bust.
Well,
She looks at me expectantly.
what do we do then? You're the one with all the bright ideas.
To be honest with you, Morag, I think our only choice is to go outside the law on this one. I
don't know what that's supposed to mean.
I mean, I'm a good citizen and everything, but sometimes you gotta take things into your own hands.
I can't believe I let you talk me into this.
Neither can I, to be honest. You're the one who couldn't think of any better ideas. We start walking away from the bus stop. It's a miracle there's even a bus route that runs all the way out here, and Morag stalks ahead of me, fast enough that I have to jog to keep up.
Let's go over the plan.
I wasn't aware we even had a plan other than sneak into the stable yard and steal the bridle somehow. Hit me.
We got about 10 minutes of walking until we get there. As far as I know, there aren't any dogs there. Didn't smell them when I was in horse form there, at least, so we should be pretty safe.
Does this game have any spooky skeletons? Not yet. Not as of yet.
As long as we're quiet and careful and we don't spook any of the horses, we should be fine.
I've never really been around horses before. What do I do to keep them chill? Morag is starting to look even more like she's regretting this.
I mean, just don't make any loud noises or move around too fast.
Funny, because I was in... Oh, wait, I guess I don't want her to be... Never mind. There was going to be some like sort of segue into loud noises, as in sex noises and moving around a lot, like up and down. But like the whole train of thought just like left the station way too early, and I lost it. You guys can figure out what the joke was. You know me well enough.
Hopefully they're all out in the paddock overnight anyway. This time of year, so we might get lucky.
This is a place. It's more like a fucking school. It's massive. The bitumen underfoot turns to gravel as Morag and I slow down, walking more carefully as we approach the property. She's got an iron grip on her face, but I can tell by the set of Morag's shoulders that this is the right address. They're nearly touching her ears. It's a nice property, I guess. There's a big stable building hugging a courtyard in a big L shape, and little yards behind it filled with big shadows I can only assume are horses. From what I hear, the stable itself seems to be pretty empty, but Morag goes up to one of the big windows and presses her ear against it. Should have asked her if being a Kelpie comes with any useful skills like super hearing or something. Either way, after a moment, she motions me onward and we tiptoe towards the door on the left side of the building and into the stable. It's dark in here. Really dark. But from what I can make out, it's kind of messy inside. The air is heavy with the smell of straw and horses, and nobody's swept for ages. I try to squint down the aisle where the horse boxes are, but Morag isn't wasting any time. She tugs me forward and makes a beeline and a half run towards the far wall. She's rifling, really noisily I might add, through a crate in the corner, so I look along the wall where there are some racks hung that seem to hold up saddles and stuff. It's really hard to see anything though, and Morag hasn't given me much idea of what made her bridle stand out from anything else. Suddenly, I'm having trouble remembering what a bridle actually looks like. After a few minutes, Morag abandons her pile of boxes in the corner and comes to join me at the wall, but just as she turns to me, both of us hear something. A snort from down the hallway and some kind of impact, hoof against door maybe. Shit, so there are horses in here. Morag jumps at the noise, so do I to be honest, and knocks something with her hand. And with a crash, jars of treats and silver hardware come pouring out of a nearby box onto the ground. It sounds almost as loud as a gunshot, or many, many gunshots all at once. If the horses were uneasy before at us being in here before, now they're outright panicked. They don't neigh as much in real life as they do in the movies, I guess, but there's definitely a lot of noise coming from the stalls as well as the racket we're making. Panic crawls up my spine. That's gotta be audible for miles around. Their owner must have woken up by now.
Can't you do something?
Or can't you do something? Transform and neigh at them to be quiet or something? I hiss it under my breath, but I still feel like talking isn't helping the situation.
Don't be stupid, Kevin. If I could, don't you think I'd have thought of that?
She ignores me after that, rifling desperately along the wall that we can't even see for her bridle. It just now occurs to me I could have used the torch on my phone or something, but it's too late for that. I can't turn it on now in case someone coming over to check out the noises sees. I guess I can be excused for my lack of experience at breaking and entering. Ah, this one, that's it. Morag must have it in her hands, but I can't see to confirm, and even worse. What I can see behind her is light approaching from the doorway we left open. Someone's coming. I run away from the light, trying to think of some other way out of here, but the way we came in is the only door on this side.
Window!
I haul on the sill with all my might, but it's rusted shut and only manages a dull creak. I'm trying. Morag appears at my elbow, and together we haul the window open, though it squeals from years of apparent unuse, and the sound riling up the stable full of horses even more. I'm halfway out when we're suddenly bathed in bright yellow light, and a voice comes from behind us in the doorway.
Hello, who's there?
We hurl ourselves out the window and onto the grass outside, Morag holding the bridle in a death grip, but I can't see any way we could get out of sight before he gets to the window and sees us. The paddock stretches on for ages past here with no cover. Dude, if you're looking at a nice pair of wireless noise-canceling headphones, Best Buy has a pair on sale today for $100. They're normally a $200 pair. They're a Sennheiser pair, which I know is actually a decent model. I'm considering buying them as well. I've been talking about it all night. Because quite frankly, I don't like the Logitech set I bought, and I'll either try and return them, or if I don't return them, it's a deal today only too. So I'm gonna have to like buy them right after I get off stream. Yeah, exactly. To be honest, I'm not too busy thinking of ideas because I'm having to put all my energy into not freaking out. I don't want to go to jail. I have the 635s, I think is what they're called, what their model is. I had a yeah, the $200 ones that are half off. That's the set. I had a set of 633s, which was like 2 years ago, the same model as this one, and they died, so I bought this set, or I used the like replacement plan to pick up this set, and I do not like the 635s or the 635. It hurts my ears to wear for any length of time for some reason. But yeah, they're the $200 ones that are half off, Rogue. That is correct. Even if we're stealing something that technically belongs to us, I don't know if the courts will take this bridle actually belongs to my friend who is a magic horse sometimes as a reasonable defense. I'm pretty sure they're over the ear. But I could be wrong. Morag nudges me with an elbow and shoves something into my hands. The bridle, I realize. The bit and oiled leather somehow still shiny in the half-light before taking a deep breath. Oh, no, the ones I have are not. They're over the ears as well. I don't like on-ear ones for much the same reason that I don't like these over-the-ear ones, because they hurt my ears after a short period of time. G990 or something. Yeah, that's the Artemis series. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having like the 990s, but they're expensive. As it was, I had to still pay like 10 extra bucks for this set because when I bought the original set, they were on sale. So the fucking replacement plan would only pay for up to the cost of the originals. Yeah, I don't know why they make on-ear ones. Yeah, the 990s are like $200 at least. If it's the wireless one, I think it's like $250. They're really nice. It's Logitech. I'm pretty sure it's Logitech's like highest end headset. They're pretty too. Which is important. Also, Morag just gave us the bridle, guys. We're in. What do we do now?
No other choice. Ride me.
I mean, I intended to, but not the... Maybe now isn't the right time for that. Wait, what are you... I stopped short. It's hard to see in the half light, though the guy with the torch is still getting closer and throwing everything into deeper shadows and harsh highlights, but I think she's transforming. Yeah, mine have the cool lights, the cool rainbow lights too, but the glowy bits on the 990s are way nicer than the glowy bits on the 635s. I'm right. There's a spray of briny water from where Morag had been standing, which would be super gross under any other circumstances. But I'm so sweaty from all the stress that the cool water is kind of a welcome refresher, and in her place stands that same big dark horse from earlier.
Hurry up.
I start. I kind of forgot she could talk in horse form, to be honest, but there's no time for anything else, so I clumsily haul myself up onto her back. Though it takes a lot of upper body strength that I definitely do not have much of. She's really tall. Ooh. Why am I getting excited about this? As soon as I'm vaguely up on her withers, Morag takes off at a gallop. I've never ridden a horse before, not unless a pony ride when I was 5 counts, and certainly not without a saddle, so it's all I can do to stay on, especially when Morag has to do some serious skidding and sliding to get around the fence line and into the driveway. There was no time to put the bridle on her either, so I end up looping the headpiece over my shoulders so I can use my other hand to hold on. Soon enough, the farm is far behind us. I have no idea where we are, but I slide off Morag's back, trying to ignore my wobbly legs and the pins and needles in my feet. Now human again, Morag folds her arms and refuses to make eye contact with me.
Do not speak to this to anyone else, or I will personally make sure you regret it.
Pretty sure she means thank you for your help, but I accept your thanks, Morag. It's dawn of the final day before Halloween. Dawn of the final day. 24 hours remain. Well, not dawn, really. It's 10 a.m. before I get to Morag's house that day. The bus is late, and I have a few chores to do around house before I can leave. But Morag doesn't seem to mind much. We've managed to catalog every last form after all, and there isn't much left to do, for me at least. Morag is still on and off the phone every 5 minutes.
Sorry, Kevin, you were saying something?
We're sat in her lounge again over cups of hot. I'd been telling her a story about something that one of my younger siblings had done that morning, but I was kind of relieved to be cut off by a phone call, to be honest. The story wasn't very good. They are on ear? Oof. Maybe I won't be getting them after all. Or who knows? Maybe I'll pick them up, and if I find out I don't like them, I'll just return them. What's the worst that can happen? It's okay, no big deal. Yeah, GG.
Everyone is starting to arrive, that's all. They tend to ring me when they get to town so I can tell them what needs to be done on site.
Isn't Cormac supposed to be the one in charge? Why don't they call him? Morag snorts a laugh.
Sure, he's great with people face to face, but it'd be a miracle if Cormac actually remembered to charge his phone, let alone bring it anywhere. Nobody can get a hold of Eseth either, so that just leaves me.
How come? Strikes me Eseth is the kind of person to have her phone on them at all times.
One of Eseth's snakes ate their phone once. They don't answer calls anymore, just messages.
That's a great excuse not to pick up the phone, but jeez. Reminds me of that photo with the snake who ate the alligator. The snake must have been square-shaped for a while, right? I try to stop thinking about just where things must actually go once they're eaten by Eseth's snakes. Into her brain, maybe?
Anyway, all the paperwork is squared away, so finish your coffee. We should get down to the warehouse and check on things.
Don't you mean a warehouse? Cormac is right, you really can hear the E. Morag and I head downstairs into her car and down the road to the warehouse. Ironically, closer to my house than hers. There wasn't much point in me coming all the way out here, but whatever. Having tea in her apartment was nice. She's not that bad to be around. Not nearly as bad as I thought. I was right. The spiky edges don't go very far down into her real self at all. The warehouse itself is almost a different place when we arrive. The building itself doesn't look any different, but it has a whole different feeling now that there are actually people here. And boy, are there people here. It's only a few so far, but the place is seething with activity in comparison to its normal derelictness, and Morag assures me that there are only going to be more coming tomorrow on the actual day. I'm assuming Cormac made the poster? Apparently most of the construction happens tomorrow, but there are already a few signs and posters up with a hand-drawn logo that is cute, I guess? Or quaint, maybe. Either way, it's certainly eye-catching. We don't even have time to walk in the big doorway of the warehouse before Morag is leapt on by a tall figure with long, bright pink hair and only one eye in the center of her forehead.
Ida.
It's muffled by the other person's shoulder, but I can still hear as Morag's voice goes right back to the flat, icy sound I remember from when we first met. Despite myself, there's a little shiver between my shoulder blades at the tone of it. I think I'd forgotten how scary she could be.
Morag, darling, don't look at me like that. How are you? It's been so long.
Morag shoots me a look over the Cyclops' shoulder, part desperately resigned and part a very clear instruction for me to get out of here. Might be wise to make myself scarce. I wander further through the big double doors and into the warehouse. Funny, really, since I spent 3 days helping organize things, but I've still never been inside. I was sad that Ida didn't have a sprite. I can kind of see why they chose the place. Sure, it's not in great and unique from the outside, but the inside is much nicer. At this time of day, there's quite a lot of light streaming in from the windows and the roof, and the ceiling is really high, which gives it a sort of a lofty quality. It's mostly one wide open space, but there's a couple of little rooms and a corridor at the other end of the L shape, which seems to be storage for equipment and stuff, at least for now. In one room is a whole pile of costumes and fabric, some big bolts with landscapes and spooky trees painted on them, which are big enough that they look like a whole stage backdrop. Next door is a room full of wires and lights, I think? I try not to touch anything anyway, since I have no idea what most of this even is. Before long, Cormac finds me wandering around, luckily, before I can somehow do any damage to anything.
Kevin, hi, we missed you.
Hey, Cormac. Supposedly he's been working non-stop for 2 days, but his energy levels certainly haven't dropped any.
Now, Morag hasn't been too cruel to you, has she?
He leans in closer and all fake conspiratorial, which would be much cuter if he didn't have pale green fire seeping from his grinning mouth. No, we got into some trouble, but it was totally my fault, so...
Trouble? Really? What did you do, delete the spreadsheet?
His ears droop.
I only did that one time, and she still won't let me live it down.
She did have a few incriminating stories about you, yeah. He sighs dramatically and leans against the wall, near swooning.
So cruel. To think my greatest friend would throw me under the bus.
Greatest friend, huh? I can tell, you guys are super close, right? He perks up again immediately. It's giving me whiplash just trying to keep up with him.
Oh yes, we've known each other for years, since childhood actually.
It's a miracle Morag hasn't worried herself to death in the meantime. I guess Cormac needs someone very different as a best friend to balance him out. By the way, is there anything I can do to help out right now? Morag's still busy handling people as they come in to start helping, I think. but she told me she can handle it. That's a lie. I just don't want to interrupt her and Ida. I suspect there's more history there than she told me. Also, I'll probably be right before long, since Morag's been fielding so many phone calls from people on their way here, so the lie is hardly hurt.
Oh, of course, here. We'll send up the first pathway group we'll take it. We'll send up the first pathway groups we'll take into the warehouse, so you can help me take all the draperies over there and hang them on the hangers.
I don't know how much help my noodly arms are going to be, but sure. Cormac and I busy ourselves for a bit, moving things back and forth from the storage rooms, him chattering the whole way. He doesn't even stop to breathe. Then Esseth finds us and tasks us with helping them hook up some complicated lighting system, which I don't even pretend to know anything about. All I do know is that I spend what feels like years gaffer taping everything to the floor. Anyway, that takes up another half hour, by which time Morag seems to have freed herself from Ida's grip.
Coffee?
Thanks. I'm a little embarrassed. It's a little embarrassing how grateful my voice sounds, but it was very thoughtful of her, that's all. Besides, I think I need the caffeine after talking to Cormac for so long. I take the offer of a break, and Morag and I wander outside the warehouse, perching on a wall overlooking the rear yard.
I hope you're not having too terrible a time with all this.
What?
I mean, I know the paperwork was complicated and boring for you to deal with, and you've been reconciling all the new knowledge about demi-humans being real and so on.
She did leave out the part about the petty theft we committed, or maybe that was the and so on.
But I hope that you'll get to experience the fun parts of the warehouse as well. Meeting new people and being part of a big group while working together towards something. It's fun, I promise.
Sure, I mean, it's not like working with you three has been that awful anyway.
Well, yes, anyway. Once we're finished our break, remind me to call the caterer back and confirm the order. You can keep helping out with the set building around here if you like.
Sounds good. I mean, I know what I'm going to answer, and it's got to be the right one. Nothing I can do to help you with things?
No, but I appreciate you asking.
She smiles kind of ruefully. I have a feeling that's the check to see if we have enough event flags. And the answer was, Tundra always gets the bad end.
I always feel so busy, but I guess this turns out to be more of a one-person job than I realized.
I can't say I agree, even though I feel like I've been doing way less than half of the work than she has. It's still a lot to get done, and she's only one person. And I suspect that Morag usually ends up doing half the things Cormac says he's going to do as well. Either way, I want to help, so if you get busy, come get me, okay?
Alright, I will.
Comfortable quiet elapses between us for a moment. Almost out of habit, I slide my phone out of my pocket, taking a sip of my coffee with the other. It's partly to read my notifications, sure, but I also want to check Heck's door. Cormac said he'd been putting up advertisements for the warehouse on the local community group pages, so I have a browse for those while I'm at it. Something else in the community group catches my eyes first, though. Community alert. Writing to tell everybody about this ghost horse that has decided to give us all grief at Honey Lake Stables lately. Don't know whether it's a ghost really or a real one that someone's lost, but it keeps showing up at nighttime in the middle of nowhere. Turning lights on and off, freaking us all out. Bloody big bastard, Frisian looking and in good nick, shiny and well fed. If it's real, it'd be worth a lot of money to someone, but they need to come get it. Seems like to like this area. Last time I swear I heard a voice come from it, so that lends something to the ghost theory. And a few of my things have gone missing. If you have info on the sightings, please comment or give us a ring. Honestly, guys, obviously I'm not asking for criticism here. I ran this by the... Can't read the rest, unfortunately. Ghost horse. I stifle a laugh. I think I might know what this post is about. So, about the bridal thing. Morag winces. Clearly she'd been hoping we could forget the whole experience. I don't see why. I mean, we were successful, right? I know, but I want to check you're all good with that. No impulses to go be beholden to him or anything?
Nope, we're good on that front as far as I can tell. I might get you to help me out put the bridle on in horse form later today, since that can be tricky with no opposable thumbs. But now that the bridle is in my apartment, I'm safe from his influence at least.
I'm glad. She still hasn't once said thank you to me for making her go through with this, but despite that, I really am glad. I'd hate for her to be dealing with all that beholden weirdness for as long as it took to come up with this better solution, which might have been a while.
I need that bridle.
Anyway, you're gonna want to read this. I hand her the phone, the post facing outwards, and she skims the entire at an alarming speed. Then she takes a very, very long sip of tea.
Well, we've created a town pariah.
Finally, she cracks. There's a trace of guilt in her expression, but her shoulders are shaky, and she's definitely using the teacup to muffle her laughter. No weirder than the rest of the people in that hex door group, though, right?
Did you look at the comments on that post, Kevin? Everyone thinks the guy is nuts.
I shrug. He'll be fine. I'm sure once the ghost door stops haunting him, he'll forget all about it. This time she really laughs.
I can't believe we did something so wild.
I look at her sideways. Well, I can't believe that monster people are real and I'm friends with some, but there you go. To be honest, though, the nighttime heist was a bit of a surprise.
Never could have done it without you.
She says it dryly, but then sets down her cup and turns towards me properly.
While I'm still not sure it was the best idea, in those circumstances it was unwise to keep burying my head in the sand, and you brought me out of that. So thank you for encouraging me, I suppose is what I mean to say.
Despite myself, my cheeks warm a little. Aww. No problem. It would have been much easier from the start if my job description had been Morag's personal cheerleader instead of filing assistant, but I'll take it. Nobody can say this job has been boring, right?
I don't suppose they could, no.
After a few more minutes, we finish our cups and head back inside. Ida seems to have disappeared, probably back to her hotel. I'll give Morag the benefit of the doubt and say she didn't drown her or anything, seeing as she keeps saying she doesn't do that sort of thing. Morag and I spent the rest of the day helping lug furniture and set flats around the warehouse. Cormac tries to assure us that he and Eseth are fine for now, and Morag and I could go do other stuff since other demi-humans will be coming in to do the very heavy lifting and final arrangements tomorrow. I'm not convinced, though. I haven't seen Eseth sit down this whole time or stand in one place for more than a few seconds, and they don't seem to have the endless wellsprings of energy that Cormac does. In fact, I'm not sure anyone on Earth has the energy Cormac seems to have. Is it a werewolf thing? Eventually, I managed to pull Eseth aside. Morag and Cormac are off in the other corner, and I'm not sure what they're talking about, but I can hear the icy tone of Morag's voice from here. Eseth, are you okay? You seem to be really flat out. Do you need a break? They stop walking once I call their name, but their snakes seem restless, wriggling around in different directions.
Nah, Kevin, I'll be fine.
Are you sure? No offense, but you look kinda wiped. And fair enough, too. Not only have you done all the effects and costumes for this, you've also been on Cormac wrangling duty all day.
He's not so bad, honest. Besides, he's such an airhead. He's surprisingly easy to redirect once you've known him for a while.
Eseth eyes me for a moment, one snake doing the same, tongue darting out of its mouth. Derp snakes!
Thanks, though. You're a good egg.
I'm a little taken back by that, to be honest. Eseth seems like they're usually cool as a cucumber. It's weird to see them give such an easy compliment. Weirder still to have the compliment directed at me. You're welcome, I guess?
Maybe I will sit down for a couple minutes, though. Will you go help Morag and Cormac with the stage flat they're moving?
Sure. I don't think they're moving it so much as standing there and bickering, but I'll do my best. Afternoon winds itself lazily into evening as we keep lugging things around and getting the space vaguely organized. I'm worried we don't seem to be getting that much done since Halloween is tomorrow, and I don't see this place looking like a haunted house yet. More of a big dusty space with a bunch of painted sheets and lighting equipment stuffed into it. Everybody assures me that it'll come together very quickly tomorrow, once there's a ton of people here to work, but I guess I have to take their word for it.
I'll look up. Cormac, will you take the poster board from outside and bring it back tomorrow?
Sure.
Eseth leans in a little closer, talking under their breath.
You do have an alarm set to remind Cormac to bring it back tomorrow, right?
She snorts, putting a hand on her hip.
Do I look like this is my first rodeo, Eseth?
With that, Eseth and Cormac leave for the day, and I go to head out after them, but Morag catches my elbow before I can get past the doorway into the yard.
Yes, here we go.
What's up? Is something wrong?
Oh, no. Nothing's wrong.
That doesn't look entirely true, though she's still that same composed Morag I've gotten used to. Underneath, she almost seems a little rattled, unsettled even. What's up, Morag?
It's just that Esset told me about earlier.
Earlier what now?
You know, when you checked in on them, made sure they were alright.
She shakes her head. Why do I almost feel like I'm in trouble? Was that a bad thing? Were they offended or something? It doesn't sound like them, but what do I know?
I don't understand you at all. For one thing, keeping tabs on everyone's well-being is usually left up to me, and you can see how well that's been going.
I mean, nobody's died yet, right? I can see what she means, though. All of them do look kinda overworked, except Cormac, obviously. But that goes without saying.
To be honest, I struggle to even look after myself sometimes, let alone all the extra work that goes on around Halloween every year, and making sure to remember to look out for everyone at the same time. I guess this year I haven't done a good job of any of that.
I guess the whole bridal fiasco is kind of an example. She was so ready to just pretend it wasn't happening and dedicate herself to working on the warehouse instead, even if it ended up coming to bite her later. It's funny on the outside, she looks so put together, but I guess she's paddling just as hard on the surface as the rest of us are. Some of us, me, just aren't as good at hiding it. Hey now, Morag, don't be like that. You were doing your best given the circumstances. Despite myself, her being kind of standoffish and me not really good at sweeping gestures of comfort, I reach over and touch her on the shoulder, holding my hand there for a few seconds in what I hope is a comfort and not super weird and trespassing her boundaries. She sighs, but she smiles a bit too, kind of ruefully.
You barely know any of us, and sometimes I think you're still convinced we're about to murder you in the night, but you keep looking out for us.
Isn't it kind of the bare minimum to not be a horrible person, though? I shrug. Just doing my best.
But why? Why are you? You could easily have taken our money and still gone to the police or the scientists to report us, or done the bare minimum at work and then left as soon as you could. But you didn't. I don't understand why.
I know what the right answer is. I don't know why I'm saving. Because I'm your friend. You dork. I mean, I am, aren't I? Listen, not to get too maudlin here, but I never really made any friends after my high school group drifted apart a while ago. So as weird as this situation is, I'm kind of glad of the chance to get to know you guys. And besides, it's been fun. I want to pull my weight, but also you three have really been nice to me. So I wanted to return the favor. Make sure you're all getting looked after like y'all are looking out for me. And not to be weird, but it's been especially nice getting to know you, to be honest. Aww. She doesn't blush, but her skin is so pale it almost gives her away. Her pointed ears are just slightly pink at the tips. Holy shit. I didn't think Morag could be cuter, and then I got proven wrong. You're pretty cool. That's all. Morag looks at me in a way that a few days ago I would have found way too intense, but I'm rapidly getting used to it. She's so cool and so calm and collected on the surface, but she's almost starting to let me see below it. I hope this isn't presuming things, but I hope Morag and I can hang out more after this.
I see your point, Kevin. Thank you for clarifying. This explains a lot.
I'm weird. Clearly so are you three. It makes sense, right? I'm pretty obviously trying to lighten the mood, but she lets me do it, giving a little amused huff through her nose.
Anyway, Kevin, time to go. Both of us have a lot of work ahead tomorrow, don't we?
Yeah, see you then. Morag waves goodbye as she locks the heavy warehouse door, and then I make my way out of the familiar gate walking home. It's the big day, D-Day. Or H-Day? It's funny, I've spent all this time working with Morag, but I have no real idea what the others have been up to all this time, or what to expect when I get to the warehouse. Sorry, warehouse. I gotta get better at that now that there's gonna be customers around. The sight of the warehouse makes me feel even more out of place. It's still early, very early for me, if not regular humans or regular demi-humans for that matter. But there seems to be a lot of activity happening inside as I approach the front gate, and I dither for a second, not quite knowing what to do. Do I find someone to ask, or just busy myself with whatever looks like it needs to get done? Good luck, foe. Sleep well and have a good night. Thankfully, I spot a familiar pair of lupin ears bounding towards me through the front doors of the building. You're good. We are clearly going to be on this game for a couple of days. I cannot believe this game was made in a fucking month. Like, really? 3 routes, all of which are like 2+, maybe almost 3 hours long? Sounds good, Fo. Good night. Cormac.
Kevin, you made it.
Of course, gotta be early on the big day, right? He flashes me one of those trademark wide toothy grins, a grin that might have been threatening 3 days ago, but now I know much better than to take the sharp edges of those canine teeth seriously. Canine teeth. You
worrying about something, Kevin? Nervous?
Just thinking about your teeth. Super normal, like a regular person does all the time. Wondering what I'm gonna be doing today, actually. Saved it.
Oh, that. I remember that's why Morag sent me to get you.
Why didn't she come herself then? She must have known he'd likely forget as soon as she asked him.
She's busy putting together the different teams for people for different tasks and making sure everyone knows where the first aid kit and emergency exits are when they come in.
Ah, well, fair enough. I'm not sure I trust anyone else to take care of that, to be honest.
Anyway, she said to tell you that for a little while this morning you're going to be behind the ticket booth outside.
I hadn't even noticed it on my way in, but Cormac points over my shoulder, and yup, there it is. A little pine booth overlooking the footpath outside the front of the warehouse.
And then after that, you can help us test out the haunt once we've done all the heavy lifting, though all the decorations won't be in yet. Then we all eat dinner early before the haunt starts.
That explains the receipt I spotted on Morag's desk for a very large, very expensive catering order. And during the actual haunt, what do you want me to do then? He hesitates for a second.
Actually, we haven't decided. There's a couple spots that could need filling since Morag heard one of our regulars might be too sick to make it this year. But if everyone turns up, we might not need you at all.
That'd be kind of an anticlimax, to be honest. That's nice and all, but I want to help. It'd be weird to be the only one here without a job to do in the haunt itself. I'd feel like the token human being left out.
I'll talk to the other two. We'll find you something to do, don't worry.
I poke my head into the warehouse itself to say hi to Esseth and Morag, who are oddly hard to find amid the crowd of other demi-humans moving things around in here. Then I retreat outside to the street where I end up spending most of the morning running the ticket booth. Craig told me earlier that we get the majority of our ticket sales as people arrive late at night, but a fair amount of people come early to get a discount to make sure they can get enough tickets for a big group or to just see what's going on over here. It's not the most exciting job, but at least I get to hear comments from some of the customers about what got them interested in the event.
I'm so excited. This looks even better than last year.
I'm gonna face my fears this Halloween and try not to scream.
I came because those posters downtown were so ugly I had to see how bad the event they were advertising was.
I did notice some creative posters around the warehouse today, and when I went out for a walk around town the other day, I wonder who was in charge of those.
Do you guys know you spelled warehouse wrong? Ooh, spooky. Were you guys inspired by the rumor about the ghost horse going around?
Yeah, we totally were. Indirectly responsible for the rumor, in fact, but I'm hardly going to tell them that. After a few hours, Morag comes to relieve me. Hey.
Your turn to brave the chaos in there.
She looks a little pale, even more so than usual. I can imagine she's been flat out all morning trying to manage everyone coming in and out. You sure you want to be on the booth right now? I can keep going for a bit if you need a rest. She sits herself down next to me on the bench.
I'll be fine. It's slow enough out here that this basically is a break for me. Besides, Cormac needs your help inside if you still want to help him and us test the haunt. Thank you, though, Kevin. I appreciate you looking out for me as always.
No problemo. Come get me if you fall asleep at the wheel.
Will do.
I make a mental note to get someone to ferry some food and water out to her later or something, then I head inside. It turns out that what Cormac meant by help test the haunt is wander around the haunted house and pretend to be scared. I think I can manage that. And anyway, it's pretty clever how they've decided to set up the inside of the warehouse, and I'm sure most of it was Aseth's idea. Only bits and pieces are in there so far, but painted sheets are draped from overhead to form walls and corridors wiggling all around the inside of the space in unpredictable directions. Sometimes the path broadens into fake rooms, some of them with furniture piled there already, where something spooky must be planned to happen to each group of customers. Cormac has me start right in the doorway where customers will begin their journey through the haunted house. Creepy music starts playing from somewhere. The Victorian tragedy theme is pretty obvious from the start. Everything is in gloomy grays, there's backdrops painted with foggy trees, and in the rooms where there's furniture, fake cobwebs draped around all these neat little knickknacks. I bet Aseth thrifted these from somewhere just for the haunt. I was going to assume the antiques are all Morag's, but now that I've seen all the modern furniture in her house, I'm not sure. Still, they can't be Cormac's, can they? I feel like I should have read Wuthering Heights to get in the mood for this at any rate. I know Aseth has been working really hard on the costumes the last few days, but I can't imagine how they're going to look. Surely if they're trying to clothe an entire warehouse's worth of actors, the quality can't be that good. Not that I can see any of the costumes in here yet, though. None of the demi-humans who will be actors are here yet. Or if they are, they're outside on lunch break with everyone else. Instead, as they're on the first corner of the constructed hallway, I hear running footsteps past me, and I can almost see a shape zoom past on the other side of the hung-up sheet that blocks off this corridor from the rest of the room. That would have been spooky if I didn't know exactly who those footsteps belonged to.
Boo!
Cormac jumps out from behind the corner. I pretend to be scared even though I 100% saw this coming. I must do a good job because he started giggling immediately.
Gotcha, Kevin.
You sure did.
That's not how it'll go tonight, though.
Aseth's voice emerges from somewhere, but I can't see them, probably managing all the sound effects from some little hidey hole in the set.
He's just filling in. Where you are now, the first room, there will be a spooky voice calling the group forward, and then someone hiding in the coat rack will give him a spook.
Cormac disappears again behind a fold in one of the sheets, and then I keep walking through various rooms set up to look like a spooky old mansion. The roundabout path makes the warehouse feel even bigger on the inside than it already did, and before long I feel disoriented with all the twists and turns, even though I've been here before and I can see where I'm going. But ultimately it's not really that scary in here yet. Cormac's frantic steps as he tries to stay ahead of me and fill in for all the actors, and all the daylight streaming in from the skylight in the roof. Aseth misses the timing on a few of the sound effects too, but that happens to the best of us. Apparently, since during the real thing they'll be busy spooking people using their statue form in one of the rooms, the sound will actually be managed by someone else with superhuman senses to be able to time things just right. This demi-human stuff really does come in handy for a production like this, huh?
And then towards the end, the haunt ventures outside. Towards the back of the warehouse, Cormac appears at my elbow suddenly and gestures to the door in front of me, where he explains Morag will be playing her part, the Black Stallion of the Moor. As he puts it, at least, I can imagine Morag is hardly stoked about being called a stallion, but I've learned better than to ask by now. The rear yard of the warehouse is where Morag will chase the group of customers around as the crescendo of the haunt. Then she funnels them back through a roller door on the end of the warehouse into a corridor safely back to the front of the building. You'd be amazed how scary Morag can be in her horse form, Kevin.
I'm not sure I would actually. She's pretty scary out of her horse form too. Not to mention I've seen her in her horse form as well, but I resist the urge to spill the beans. Cormac leads me down this last spooky corridor, relatively unadorned since it's after the climax of the show, though there are still fake cobwebs in every corner. Then we emerge into the front yard. That was fun.
I know, right? Let me know what you think. Any changes we need to make?
I mean, I wasn't really scared, but it's hard to tell since so much of it wasn't final. Seemed fine to me, apart from all the light in there and the few sound errors.
Sorry, I'm fixing that now.
As usual, Aseth's voice echoes seemingly out of nowhere. I make a mental note to go see where they've been hiding all this time. How can they hear me from everywhere in the building? After my mystery tour of the house itself, I'm relegated outside at the communal snack table, making sure everything is kept full and the water bottles are cold. I get the feeling the committee is really reaching to find things to occupy me with, but I don't mind that too much, really. Besides, I get to watch as a lizard demi-human wanders up and starts absolutely going to town on a plate of insects, which I hadn't even noticed were there, so I must be doing a terrible job of snack table maintenance. They don't seem to see me behind the table at first, though one of their sucker-padded feet is clinging to the tabletop. Are they nervous? As soon as I try to make eye contact, they wrench the plate away and scurry off behind a corner out of sight. Wow, just like the tiny lizards in my yard, they'd run away easily. At least their tail didn't drop off when I spooked them. Then a leprechaun and a harpy, whose bird parts look almost magpie-ish, walk past the snack table holding hands. It looks like the leprechaun is doing magic tricks with one of his gold coins, making it appear and disappear with a flick of the fingers of his free hand. The harpy can't take her eyes off the coin, and she seems delighted to watch her companion's dexterity. I wonder why. Eventually, the leprechaun appears to pull it from her ear and presents it to her with a little nod. She takes it with a grin, then bends down to give him a kiss, which it looks like he happily returns before she whips out a wing, screening them both from prying eyes. Like mine. Still, I can't help but smile. Aw, that was cute. Soon after that, it occurs to me that I never even asked what Cormac's role is in the haunted house itself, if he has one at all. I seem to remember Eseth saying there'd be a statue somewhere, and Morag is outside in horse form, terrorizing groups near the end of the haunt path, but Cormac, I have no idea. Eventually, after fishing for more info from the few demi-humans still wandering past to grab snacks, I learned that Cormac's job isn't just overseeing. Like I thought, he'll be spooking people by growling and making wolf-shaped shadows in one of the early rooms using his canine form. I wasn't even sure if he had a canine form before now. It seemed rude to ask, you know? Nobody gave me a demi-human etiquette handbook or anything. Either way, it's pretty clear nepotism if you ask me. All three committee members get starring roles in the production itself. Fishy. I'm startled out of my reverie by Cormac, who comes bounding past in a rush.
Pizza! Pizza's here!
Oh, I almost forgot we get fed a solid meal as well as snacks. Nice. And what, it's dinner time already? It's amazing how quickly the event came up when I look up. The sky is turning a dusky twilight blue. I check my watch, only an hour and a half until the haunt itself begins. I stack some of the empty bowls on the table to clear space, and not a moment too soon as Cormac comes by again with a towering stack of pizza boxes. He's followed by a crowd of demi-humans all chatting amongst themselves. The pizza boxes are flipped open, and I knew I didn't recognize the logo as some of the pizzas are topped with all sorts of things, like bugs, seaweed, and some kind of weird purple vegetable that I'm sure I've never seen before. Pretty sure you don't get that kind of thing from my usual pizza place. Eseth walks by and grabs a slice with the purple stuff on it.
Demono's always makes the best pizza.
What's the purple stuff?
Mandrake, wanna try some?
Maybe not. I don't know how my stomach will react to mythical vegetables. And even though I now know where the first aid kit is, I don't think now is the time to try it out. I opt for a safer slice of Hawaiian instead. Before too long, the buzz of happy chatter turns into the buzz of purposeful chatter. People start trickling back inside, going to finish up the last bits of getting ready. I help a three-tailed kitsune pack the snack table away, then take a moment to catch my breath as she heads in. It's possibly the last free minute I'll have for the rest of the night, and I'm damn well going to use it to steady myself. Inhale, hold, exhale. Okay. This is it. It's almost time. I can hear groups of customers start to gather outside, chattering excitedly, though they seem to be kept well under control by the crowd-wrangling crew. The inside of the warehouse is a hive of activity, demi-humans everywhere, some running to fetch last-minute props, others still putting on makeup and costumes. I make a concerted effort not to accidentally stare at anyone as they're getting changed. I manage to catch the committee members as they're having one last quick meeting 10 minutes before showtime. So did anyone ever decide what I'm doing through the haunt? Cormac looks nervous. It's weird. The expression doesn't sit right on his face. I'm so used to him smiling.
Kind of.
Turns out everyone we were expecting actually did show up. Which has literally never happened before. So we can't have you fill in for any of them. Long story short, all the fun jobs were taken, Kevin. But you are the rookie. You should be expecting to do some grunt work.
Grunt work? I mean, I'm happy to do it, but that sounds intense. I mean, it's cool. What am I going to do?
You're this year's Hobbit under the stairs.
What?
It's a super special role. You're making sure nobody gets hurt if they try and go up to the second story landing.
Sounds special.
People tend to ignore it if we try and block off the stairwell with tape or anything, because they think whatever we block it with is part of the haunt. But the landings are kind of falling apart, so it's pretty dangerous. Our first year, a customer nearly fell right onto another group of guests.
See, pretty important, right?
Okay, so what do I do then? Stand in the way and tell people to get lost, or?
Up to you. Usually people prefer to hide in the little cubbyhole underneath the stairs so people can't see them and then only come out if need be. That way people don't think they're an actor and come up to interact with them when they don't have any lines or spooks prepared.
It's almost time. Any last questions, Kevin?
Haven't really given me time to think of any, but I don't think so.
That's the spirit.
Eseth shepherds me over to the far corner of the building, winding through sets and past all the demi-humans getting into their places, and then I scurry into the hiding place under the stairs. Not sure if the cobwebs under here are fake or not, but I can't bring myself to check. The normal house lights in the ceiling get switched off, so everyone must be ready and in place. It's eerie how quiet the building gets after that. I can still hear the noise from the crowd outside near the ticket booth, and somehow I can still feel that there is a lot of people in here with me, but I can't hear anything at all. Then the creepy music from before starts to play. I can just hear the footsteps from here as the first group enters the first corridor. They start screaming. They must have gone to the first room near where Cormac is. It's kind of fun to follow them around in my mind's eye, remembering pieces from my own tour of the haunt earlier, though their visual version must be far scarier with all the yelling they're doing. Well, it's fun for the first few groups anyway, before I start to get a little bored. Even when customers do get to this point of the haunt, they tend to ignore this area entirely, so I can only listen and wait in my spot under the stairs. Not to be ungrateful, I'm glad they found something for me to do at least, but I feel like my part in the haunted house could be played just as easily by a wall, or a few milk crates put in strategic places. Well, whatever. It's been a big, exhausting few days leading up to this, and I've been busy today too, so it's nice to sit down for a while and listen while the others have their crowning moment. Seems to be going well, at least. I can hear giggles and screams echoing around the building pretty much constantly, as well as neighs and hoofbeats from Morag outside, and whoever is on the sound desk doesn't seem to have missed a single cue yet. I'm more surprised that I haven't heard Cormac come out of character to yell boo at anyone yet, but I haven't heard a peep from him once, color me very impressed. I just let my eyes fall closed, only to rest them, I swear, when I hear something off to my left. Peeping just slightly out of my hiding place, I spot a group of hauntees, as Eseth calls them, coming around the bend into the stairwell. Unlike the groups before them, the footsteps don't continue on to the rest of the haunted house, and the closer they get, the more I realize they're giggling a lot and their walking seems unsteady. They're drunk, basically. With them en route to the forbidden stairs, I suddenly have to stop being sleepy and decide how best to deal with the situation, my one responsibility during the whole haunt. No pressure. We gotta do it the right way. Make noises and spook them away. I already feel silly even thinking about this, but I guess hobbits from previous years have used the same method, so I should be fine, I guess. I wish I'd had time to practice or something. Here goes. I squish myself even further under the staircase so none of them can see me and decide to start off with just generic noises in case it's enough to scare them off. I make a few thumps with my feet and then do some creative tapping on the underside of the staircase. It's pretty echoey in this little space, which helps make it louder, but I don't hear any of them scream or anything. And from this far under the staircase, I can't see any of their reactions anymore. Go big or go home, I guess. Ooh. I start off with a quiet, kind of warbly tone, and then get louder and louder until I hear one of them shriek.
A ghost, run!
I break off my ghostly noises and can just make out their hurried footsteps as the group run away. Hopefully in the right direction. Thankfully, the rest of my watch is pretty quiet. I need to discourage another set of spookies from poking around the stairs, but they're less of a challenge than the first set. Feels like the haunt goes pretty quickly, except my legs are sore from being cramped up under the stairs for so long, and this droning, spooky music is really starting to get on my nerves. But the music fades as the last group comes down the rear corridor to the outside, and after the last screams and laughter echo in the warehouse, there's a few moments of stillness. And then all hell breaks loose. Laughing, yelling, running footsteps as people finally get to break their hiding place and go to celebrate. It's loud all of a sudden, but joyful. I can't help smiling. I only had a small part on the day, I guess, but it was nice to be part of a team working towards something, and it's been really great to get to know the committee members, even if it was kind of a whirlwind. I almost don't know how to feel now that it's all over.
What are you doing down here?
It's Morag's friend. Frenemy? Ida, the Cyclops with pink hair. She pokes her head around the side of the hallway and looks down at me. Just sitting?
There's a party about to start outside. Stop moping and hurry up.
I can suddenly see why her and Morag got along. They're both kind of forceful. She disappears after that, dashing out of sight, and I take her advice, stretching the kinks out of my legs as I work myself out of my hiding place and try to remember how to stand up. The haunted house has been over for all of 2 minutes, but as I start making my way to the backyard, things already feel very different in here. The regular lights are back on, for one thing, and I can still hear some customers chatting out front with the crew of succubi who had been managing the crowd. There's groups of demi-humans clustered throughout the warehouse itself, too. I pass by a room full of what looks like vampires in one of the rooms that used to be a spooky dining room. I say used to be, but it's kind of still is. They match the scenery all too well, sat around the table drinking some kind of red liquid out of china teacups. I don't look too closely into any of the cups after that. In the corridor after that are doll-like people regaling each other with their best spooks from the haunt, and the next room holds a sleepy pile of bear people already asleep on top of one of the prop beds. It's kinda groaning under their weight, but the whole scene is so cute I can't bear to wake any of them up. Bear. Even if there is some convenient porridge there on the table. Finally, once I've made it outside, I can see that someone has already started a bonfire in the yard. In fact, it's raging. The flames are half as tall as the warehouse behind me and climbing. Either there's magic involved here, or someone poured a whole lot of flammable liquid on the kindling. The flames are getting a little too close to the overhead power lines for comfort, but I'm sure one of the demi-humans here has fire magic or something, right? Everything's probably under control. Unless it's Cormac who lit that fire, in which case I'm probably right to be concerned. Just like the inside, people are already together in groups out here celebrating, some of them very sleepily since the haunted house took a lot out of them. I spot Esseth near a table under the eaves in the middle of a very chaotic-looking game of beer pong. The table is wonky, and the insect person taking their turn right now is totally cheating because they're using their extra set of arms to drop a ball in from above instead of bouncing it in. In fact, if I look closely, I can see a few of Esseth's snakes are holding ping pong balls in their mouths, which is very cute, but I hope they don't throw them all at once.
Kevin, come play.
Hey, yes. Maybe later, though. I think I'm a little too human to be competitive at that table, but we'll see how brave I get later on. I was never a serious party animal or anything, but it's a nice atmosphere out here. People are laughing, singing, standing by the fire. Someone's even busted out a guitar and is playing it with what looks like very dexterous wing claws. They're, of course, playing Wonderwall. There's demi-humans of all shapes and colors, and none of them so much as bat an eyelid at me. They probably think I'm demi-human too, since some of them pass for human pretty well. But either way, it's nice to feel so welcome, if a little strange.
Kevin!
Cormac skids into view, a cup of something in his hand, and somehow even more excitable than ever. Cormac, hey! I can't believe none of you mentioned there'd be a party afterwards.
Really? I can't believe it either. It's the best part. Since Morag and I celebrate Samhain, we've always had a little party after the haunted house is over, but it's gotten bigger over the years.
Like most things about the warehouse, so I've heard.
Just wait until Morag brings the cake out later.
Cake? This day just gets better and better. Cormac and I mosey toward the bonfire, where he quickly gets whisked away from me by an excited group of other demi-humans, but I don't mind. I can easily occupy myself with watching all the interesting kinds of monster folk milling around and by devouring the remains of the catering order currently being demolished by all the hungry haunters. After the fire has died down somewhat, I hear excited voices from back towards the building.
The cake! Oh my god, I'm so full already.
A crowd is already beginning to form around the warehouse door. Morag is halfway through a sentence by the time I manage to squeeze close enough to hear her.
And as some of you know, we bake a traditional barmbrack cake at the end of every warehouse as part of our own Halloween celebration. And by we, I mean me.
I peek over the heads of the crowd. It's not the kind of iced monstrosity I expected. It looks more like bread than cake, dotted with raisins and baked into a wide, flat tray in order to feed the entire horde.
Whoever finds a coin in their slice is going to have good luck for the rest of the year, particularly with money. Please chew carefully and don't swallow the thing, for crying out loud. Okay, go.
She clearly anticipated the onslaught and backed away quickly into the building because the group rushes for the tray with startling ferocity. I don't know how to pronounce it, okay? And it's even... I still don't know how to pronounce it. And if you don't pronounce the M, why is there an M in it? I managed to snag a slightly battered slice after most of the crowd has dissipated. Because it's Welsh or something. Yeah, that's fair.
Oh.
It's a little muffled with the crowd in between, but I can just make out Morag's voice.
Well, that's embarrassing. People are gonna think I rigged it so I'd get the coin.
I mean, did you not rig it? I would have.
Ida, honestly, that's low even for you.
My slice of cake and I head back toward the fire, finding a spot on an empty bench upwind so the smoke doesn't get in my eyes. To be honest, the cake tastes more like bread, too. I'm not entirely convinced that it isn't just bread masquerading under a cake banner. But I'm not complaining. There's something homey about the taste of it. And controversial opinion, but I like raisins. Okay, I can't play this main character anymore. I can't do it! I officially cannot pretend to be this main character. I can act as well as hard as I want, but I can never actually pretend to like raisins. Just looking into the flames is making me feel all sleepy and content. Besides, I'm tired. It might have only been 3 and a bit days since I stumbled across the committee in the yard, but it feels like I've done weeks worth of work and socializing in those days. The party is already winding down around me, everyone's manic energy is settling down into lazily telling stories and catching up. I know the feeling. Time for a rest. I think we've all earned it, though I definitely know I'm going to miss this place already. I hope that this time next year we're all together again and I'm still the honorary human committee member. And not only did I make some great friends this Halloween, hopefully the wage check will get my family off my back for a few weeks. Hey, maybe Halloween isn't so bad after all. Ending 1, Friends with Fiendish Folk. Oh God. Can we talk about the fact that there are even multiple endings per route? And even if you cut out the common route, each route is 1 hour and 40 minutes without the common route? Holy shit. I saved at every decision point too, which means if we really want to, we can force the good route. I think. The only problem is I don't know what the right answers are, and I have no way of knowing. But I feel like I didn't get the best ending. I feel like that wasn't the good ending. I feel like that might have been like the neutral ending. I know this one and this one I answered correctly. So it's got to be one of the other three. I feel like the first one I bombed. Trying to remember what the second one was. What was this one? This one didn't feel like it was all that bad. We'll just test on the reactions for each of the choices and see what happens. How about we send him a letter from a lawyer saying the bridal is stolen property and we want it back? Morag rests her chin on her hand.
That's not bad, actually. I have a few friends with a law degree, so we could ask them for help.
A few, like multiple lawyer friends? That seems above average. Suddenly I'm scared she'll litigate me for the whole on my phone at work thing.
Don't look at me like that, they're vampires. A lot of times on their hands for degrees they'll never use. Still, I'm not sure that's going to work, Kevin. Drafting up legalese takes a lot of time, and there's always the chance he'll try to fight us on it, which would take weeks if not longer.
Weeks we definitely don't have. It's only 2 days until Halloween. You're right, we'd never get the bridal back in time.
Well?
She looks at me expectantly. There we go. I think that was actually the better answer, so let's see what happens. Same ending. Okay. Do you have paper copies of the database from last year? Morag makes a face, pained and more than a little annoyed. Kevin,
We did, certainly. The first year the haunted house was a little sloppy, I'll admit. We were all caught up in the process, and nobody had figured out how to force Cormac to put the brakes on before he expanded our scope way out of control. But some of our paper trail got lost in between the first year and last year, and then Eseth's place flooded, so the rest of our records were ruined.
she narrows her eyes at me.
Trust me, I would not be doing this unless we absolutely had to.
I try and grasp for some kind of joke to lighten the mood, but her gaze is like steel. Okay, sorry. I think I like this better when everything that went wrong was somewhat Cormac's fault. Okay. I like to send him a letter from a lawyer per route path. No. I'm starting to wonder if there actually aren't different endings for each route. And this is just the only possible ending for this route. Something in Morag's face relaxes that I hadn't noticed before. She almost smiles.
Oh, Kevin, have I ever? To be honest, dealing with setting up all these new processes for warehouse has been so annoying. I skipped all the color coding this time, but it's always the best part.
Conditional formatting is a godsend. She presses her hands to her chest, every bit the period romantic heroine, but in goth makeup and with pointed teeth and strands of kelp in her hair.
Oh, isn't it? So satisfying when you put in data, and it just does all the color coding for you.
Don't get me started on equations, too. This is gonna make me sound so nerdy, but I have a spreadsheet set up for my Dyson Demons character that auto-calculates their HP and spell slots and everything. Morag's eyes go wide.
That sounds incredible. You'll have to send it to me.
I will. I smell it. So we found the right answer on this one, okay? So this is gonna be our test. This is test group right here. This is number test. She does that almost smile. I smile at her from across the coffee table, and she does that almost smile back at me. This is nice. She hasn't even threatened me or tried to eat me once. Not that I was anticipating any of that, really, but still, anything is possible. Isn't the goal to get her to eat? Wait, never mind. Somehow I doubt it. I like pretty spreadsheets, sure, but dealing with mountains and mountains of dry data, not so much. Hours pass. Okay. I still think this one was the right answer. Gotta go deal with some shit. Sounds good, Retro. It's unlikely you'll be back in time, but I mean, I got another 12 minutes. Are they lesbians? I hope so. Well, my character's a boy, so... I liked the lawyer answer. I feel like that was the smart answer. Random added thing. This is implying that we are getting the right ending. Being able to hang out with you while we get things done has really been really nice, actually. If I'm honest, way better than I was expecting. She just kind of blinks in my direction for a moment before looking back out over the derelict yard. But is that the faintest hint of a blush I can see on her face? Not that I can talk, I can feel the tips of my ears going red.
Well, yes. Anyway, once we're finished our break, remind me to call the caterer back and confirm the order. You can keep helping out with the set building around here if you like.
Nothing I can do to help you with things? What happened to the scene with... Ah, here it is. Because I'm your friend, dork. That's not the point, Casey. I spot Morag across the fire, making her way out of the warehouse and through the crowd. To my surprise, she doesn't go and join any of the groups of people she worked so hard to get here. Instead, she makes her way quietly over to the bench I'm sitting on and then sits herself next to me, composed as ever.
Hi.
Hey. There's a lot of silence after that, but I'm used to it by now. It's comfortable between us, after all. The time we've... That was awfully delivered. God, just end me. There's a lot of silence after that, but I'm used to it by now. It's comfortable between us, after all the time we've spent together lately, and it's nice to just bask in the fire's warmth with her without feeling the need to say anything. Besides, I can hear the gears in her head whirring, so I'm pretty sure she's working up to saying something. My big gay heart's going doki doki.
So, I was thinking...
Dangerous pastime, that? She rolls her eyes. I grin harder. That's the only response that works, I've learned.
As I was saying, I've been thinking.
I clamp down very hard on the urge to make some more jokes.
As much as the last few days have been a whirlwind, I've also enjoyed myself greatly and...
I can't believe what I'm seeing. Ice Queen Morag is blushing. You can say you want to hang out more, Morag. It's okay. She splutters, but I don't stop talking. In fact, you could even say you want to go out on a date with me sometime. That would also be fine with me. Honestly, my heart does start hammering a little at saying something so bluntly, but over the last few days I've learned how to read Morag pretty well. I'm pretty sure I know what's going on in that head of hers. For a minute, I think I might have killed her or turned her to stone. Weirder things have happened to me in the last 3 days, but then she blinks, so I keep waiting for her to say something.
That would be very nice, actually. Yes.
Aww. Riding the tidal wave of bravery I seem to have found myself on, I reach over for her hand, and it's a little clammy, obviously, but it's nice. Here's to that, then.
I was about to ask for your phone number, but I already have it, don't I?
I think we're a little past that, yes. So forward, Morag. Jeez, you'll be asking for my email address next.
Oh, stop it, Kevin.
She says it almost fondly with only a trace of her usual acidity. I could get used to hearing that. Hey, maybe Halloween isn't so bad after all. Ending 3, River Dweller, Morag.
Yes.
Okay.